Tonight, investigators search for clues and a possible motive after a gunman stormed the White House Correspondents' Dinner in Washington. The chaotic and frightening moments as Donald Trump was rushed from the stage, plus the view from inside the room as shots rang out.
Pop, 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 gunshots, and everybody hit the floor.
What our correspondent Paul Hunter witnessed in those frantic moments. Manitoba moves to ban social media for youth.
If there was any other product that was linked that many harms to our youth, would we still be saying they need to have this product in their hands?
How will it work? And could a ban from Ottawa be coming next? And a story of perseverance in the face of great adversity.
We were sleeping in our car. We were couch surfing.
Overcoming the odds to become the best in the world at her sport.
And what a night for this shining star from Canada.
My interview with Olympic gold medalist Camryn Rogers.
From CBC News, this is The National with Ian Hennemanzing.
Tonight, investigators are learning more about the man behind last night's shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the black tie event turning chaotic in a flash. Most of Washington's political and media elite were there, including U.S. President Donald Trump, when shots echoed outside the doors, security rushing in, and panicked guests were moved out. Everyone was safe, the intruder arrested, a 31-year-old tutor and amateur video game developer from California. Katie Simpson begins our coverage tonight with what we know and how the apparent target, the Trump White House, is responding.
The night turned in an instant. Gunshots terrifying guests frantically searching for cover. Federal authorities hunting the suspect in the hallways of the hotel.
Where's it coming from?
Grainy security footage shows the gunman running past security. Officers pull their weapons. As this is happening, the unsuspecting president is watching a magic trick from his seat in the ballroom. At first, the head table doesn't seem to notice for a good 10 seconds or so, until the First Lady says what's happening, realizing something's wrong. From another angle, you can see the panic spread through the crowd. Guests in the ballroom hide under their tables. The vice president is whisked away first as Donald Trump hits the ground taking cover.
They bring the president down directly in front of me, and we just look at each other for about 2 seconds. And my mind is just like, oh no, are we about to die?
He eventually makes his escape, crouching and crawling at times. Chaos and confusion in what should be one of the most secure places in America. The suspect was stopped before anyone was seriously hurt, allegedly shooting one officer who was saved by his bulletproof vest. All of it playing out in a busy hallway in front of plenty of witnesses.
All of a sudden, to my left, I hear gunshots. Boom, boom, really loud. And I see a guy on the ground shooting.
Cole Thomas Allen, a 31-year-old teacher from California, is now in custody. Investigators are searching his home and electronic devices. Trump says authorities found a manifesto with anti-Christian and anti-Trump statements.
From our preliminary investigation, it does appear the suspect was targeting members of the administration.
After 2 previous assassination attempts, Trump suggested political violence comes with the territory.
Look, I'm here to do a job. As part of the job, it is a dangerous. I can't imagine that there's any profession that's more dangerous.
Trump praised the Secret Service. His team called it a security success. Still, he used this as an opportunity to defend the controversial ballroom he's building at the White House.
It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it.
As this investigation continues, the president is keeping his schedule. The royal visit to the U.S. with King Charles, it's still a go.
And Katie, this manifesto that police discovered, what more do we know?
The suspect reportedly called himself a friendly federal assassin and seemed to make reference to the Epstein investigation, which Trump was asked about during an interview with 60 Minutes, leading to a combative exchange.
He also wrote this: I'm no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you
pedophile.
think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me.
Trump then called the anchor a disgrace. He still wants the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which honors journalists and journalism, to be held within 30 days.
Katie Simpson, thank you. And as Katie mentioned, the room last night was filled with members of Washington's media, and that includes CBC News Washington correspondent Paul Hunter. In the moments after the shooting, he started reporting.
The room now is on a kind of, I mean, it's on lockdown. All we heard, we were sitting over here, you see just over my shoulder, sort of that table over there. And just as the thing was getting underway, like a loud pop, 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 gunshots, and like everybody hit the floor, having no idea what was going on.
And Paul Hunter joins us now. Paul, you were pretty close to this shooting.
Yeah, I mean, the table I was referencing in that video, Ian, where we sat, was right by the wide open doors at the back of the room. And from just past those doors, somewhere near, came the sound of the shooting. It was so loud and so sudden and so unreal. I mean, a lot of people at the front of the room thought it was, dishes crashing or something, but back by those doors, you knew it was gunfire, unmistakable. But because it was so unexpected, in a secure room with the president there, there was this collective pause, like gunfire, and then it was gunfire, and people started shouting, shooter, shooter, get down, get down, get down, and then pandemonium. Everyone diving under tables, chairs falling over. I mean, I got myself crouched down behind a thick concrete pillar, wondering, as we all were, now what?
And so tell us more about what was going through your mind.
Well, I mean, first I'm thinking this can't be real, but then you're like, it is real. And then I'm thinking, well, how many more are there out there? Will a bunch of shooters now come through that door and spray the room with gunfire? Not to mention, is there another shooter somewhere in this room? Am I safe? Are my friends under the table over there, are they safe? Are we in the line of fire? All of this in about 5 seconds in your head, Ian. There was this sort of fatalistic feeling that whatever's going to happen is now going to happen, because no one then knew how any of this was going to end.
And from where you were, could you see Trump?
Yeah, well, when things calmed a smidge, I kind of slowly, raised my head and half stood up, and I looked to the stage. Empty. He was long gone. But then I saw these streams of Secret Service agents coming into the room from all sides, and you're thinking, how is it there are even so many of them here, just pouring in, as we all saw, trying to get to the various VIP guests down in the front tables, many of whom were then rushed past our table by the Secret Service, Pete Hegseth, Kash Patel, and others. It was a real kind of go, 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 go moment. And then we were left in lockdown until came the all clear. In so many ways, Ian, it's still hard to believe it even happened.
Okay, Paul, don't go far away. We're going to talk to you more later in the hour about the scene last night. Within just hours of the attack, the Prime Minister responded, Mark Carney, saying in a statement he was relieved the President, the First Lady, and all guests are safe, and that political violence has no place in any democracy. Manitoba's Premier says his government is planning to ban social media and the use of AI chatbots for kids under the age of 16. Sheehan Desjardins takes a look at reaction and the many questions that remain.
From Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew, a first-of-its-kind promise in Canada.
Our government will ban social media and AI chatbots for children and youth in Manitoba.
So far, though, no word on a timeline or how it would be enforced. But Kinew says it's necessary to keep kids safe.
We'll be working over the next few months with families and teachers in the province just to make sure that we get the message out.
Reaction from Manitobans is mixed.
Might be harder to just know what's happening around, like maybe more isolated.
Sometimes AI really helps me out in my situations, like studying for.
But I think if they were to ban it, it would be better for younger, if you know what I mean, 13 and under, maybe.
Australia did it first last year, leading to millions of accounts being deactivated, blocking those 16 and under. The verdict's still not in on how successful it's been. Nova Scotia, Quebec, and Saskatchewan are considering similar ideas.
We need action.
This parent advocate has been pushing for politicians to bring in social media bans.
Whether it's anxiety, depression, eating disorders, self-harm, suicidality, low self-worth, loneliness, the list goes on. I didn't even finish it. So if there was any other product that was linked to that many harms to our youth, would we still be saying they need to have this product in their hands?
But not all think a ban is the solution.
Let's say you have a teenager in a rural setup and it's harder for them to connect physically with people. I'm worried about them. I think the outcomes for them will be poor.
The Manitoba Premier says the onus to enforce the ban will fall on major tech companies. Still, some experts are hoping Ottawa steps in with a ban of its own. Chien Desjardins, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's pick up on that point now with Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, who has done extensive reporting on concerns about social media use by children and teens. And Deanna, where's Ottawa on all of this?
Yeah, Ian, they're at a very interesting point. At a recent Liberal convention in Montreal, we do know that party members voted overwhelmingly in favor of imposing restrictions on social media use for kids under 16. But just what form this law could take is not very clear right now. What we do know is that Mark Miller, Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture, is taking the lead on this. It also seems that the social media restrictions could be bundled with some other laws that aim to protect Canadians of all ages from exploitation and abuse online. These are remnants, Ian, of the Justin Trudeau era online harms bill, which didn't pass before he prorogued Parliament. They're now trying to tweak it and revive it.
And so what are some of the issues that they're looking at as they try to prepare this bill?
We do know, Ian, that Minister Miller is receiving recommendations from a panel of experts from across the country right now. A major question they're tackling is whether AI chatbots should be included in the bill, as Manitoba just did. Another one is, should there be something in addition to age restrictions to protect kids in a more fulsome way? For example, a federal regulator, a body that governs and oversees the conduct of social media companies. And Ian, we're not sure about the timing of this new legislation, but I'm hearing it is likely to be presented before the summer break for the parliamentarians.
All right. Thank you very much for this.
Thanks, Ian.
The Prime Minister's new advisory committee on U.S. trade is set to meet for the first time on Monday, but some members are already giving opinions on the best response to American aggression. As J.P. Tasker shows us, the advice for Mark Carney is mixed.
On Parliament Hill, there's concern over the future of the CUSMA trade deal, with the U.S. digging in on tariffs.
It is outrageous that Canada will not put U.S. spirits on the shelf. It is insulting.
And now threatening more trade sanctions over this country's U.S. liquor boycott.
I think we're kind of at the end of our rope in just asking for them to do this.
A ban most provinces vow to keep in place until there's relief for the steel, auto, and lumber sectors.
If they want the booze back on the shelves, then take the tariffs off our products.
Seeking to break this stalemate, Prime Minister Mark Carney has set Monday for the first meeting of his new Canada-U.S. Advisory Committee, a body stacked with business, labor, and diplomatic leaders familiar with the crucial cross-border file.
It's all ask and no give.
With the Trump administration demanding more concessions before reviewing CUSMA this year, committee member Ralph Goodale is urging Carney to stand firm.
We have to have the strength and the nerve and the steel in our backbone, not to be diverted by all of the craziness that goes on.
New StatsCan data shows Canadian exports to the U.S. are down nearly 17% compared to 2024. That has some in the business community telling the Prime Minister and his team to play nice.
Mind the tone, mind the words, keep it positive, forward thinking.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he has little faith in Carney's ability to negotiate, attacking his credibility while pushing for spending cuts in this week's fiscal update.
Mark Carney has been wrong about every single economic issue of our time.
Tuesday's mini budget could bring mixed news and more uncertainty. Slumping trade has blown a hole in Ottawa's finances, but the recent oil price surge could be a windfall for the Treasury. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
And we'll have special coverage of that spring economic update. It all starts Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern when the Finance Minister, François-Philippe Champagne, tables this fiscal snapshot. Our chief political correspondent, Rosemary Barton, will guide us through all the figures and what they mean for the country. That's on CBC News Network or wherever you find us. Some Albertans are raising concerns about the province's new website laying out its question for this fall's referendum. As Sam Sampson explains, some are worried it's pushing one-sided information and may actually be breaking the law.
Premier Danielle Smith is pushing for Albertans to vote yes to her government's referendum questions this fall.
I think these are the right policies for Albertans.
But a new provincial website listing them is proving controversial. Most questions concern immigration policies, like requiring non-permanent residents live in Alberta for a year before getting provincial social supports.
If you're a guest worker, you're here as a guest. You shouldn't be coming to Canada expecting that you're going to be able to take more taxpayer-funded supports than you're generating.
You can't just give one side of the story.
This Alberta IT worker created a parody website out of frustration with the province's messaging.
It completely ignores the fact that immigrants, new Albertans to this province, pay taxes.
And this lawyer filed a complaint alleging the publicly funded website was launched specifically to influence Albertans to vote yes.
We're spending millions of dollars of taxpayers' money spreading false information to influence voters for a particular outcome. That is illegal. That undermines the spirit of democracy.
The Premier has said it's appropriate to use taxpayers' dollars.
These are government policies that we want to get a mandate on.
There's no referendum separation question on the list yet. An independence petition is caught up in court, while a petition to stay is moving through a provincial committee. The Premier was asked why her government doesn't add its own separation question since thousands of Albertans have shown they want one.
Because my position is that we should remain in Canada.
That clear comment stood out to separatists.
Now we totally understand that she's not working for us and not going to work to make Alberta independent. So I guess we're going to have to decide how that looks moving forward.
Stay Free Alberta says it will start counting signatures Monday, but the province can't verify them until a provincial judge decides if the petition violates treaty rights, which means it's still unclear if Albertans will vote on independence this fall. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
Friends, family, and dignitaries gathered in Toronto to honor the late politician, diplomat, and activist Stephen Lewis.
I am so proud to have called him a friend. I'm so proud he was Canadian. I'm so proud of his championship of workers and the poor.
Tributes and personal stories were shared at the memorial service for the former Ontario NDP leader and ambassador to the UN. His son, Canada's new NDP leader, remembered Lewis's fight for justice and dignity for all.
He helped people like he breathed. And this impulse was deeply democratic. It sought no advantage, nothing in exchange.
Stephen Lewis died in hospice care last month after a long battle with cancer. He was 88 years old. 1 year later, the impact of the Lapu-Lapu tragedy is still being felt.
It's sad to see victims literally left navigating this by themselves. It's wrong.
Calls for change are growing louder from victims still carrying the weight of what happened. And we return to Washington, where the White House Correspondents' Dinner took a violent turn. Paul Hunter is back to share his experience from inside the room when the shots rang out. We're back in 2. A new memorial has been installed at Montreal's Trudeau International Airport. It honors 2 Canadian pilots who were killed when an Air Canada express jet collided with a fire truck. The crash happened at New York's LaGuardia Airport last month. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board's preliminary report said communication failures played a role in the collision. Exactly 1 year after a deadly vehicle attack at a Filipino festival in Vancouver, people gathered to remember the tragedy. As Caroline Bargut shows us, some marked Sunday's anniversary with somber reflection, while others called for accountability and support.
At a memorial near the site where close to a dozen people died, some laid flowers, others said a prayer, each marking the day in their own way.
Sorry, it makes me emotional.
Being back was more difficult than Rosemary Ranas had imagined.
I'm sorry. It comes back how it has happened because we were there. And then we were the first responders before the emergency 911. So
on this day a year ago, a vehicle drove into a crowd of people celebrating the Lapu-Lapu Day block party in East Vancouver. 11 people were killed, 31 others injured. Adam Kaiji-Lo is facing more than 40 charges, including 11 counts of second-degree murder.
It's like she was on my shoulder. Next time I saw her 2 weeks later in a casket.
Several of Blaine Redlack's loved ones died that day, including his partner of 10 years.
Like I witnessed my spouse violently die, and people were not alive around me, and people were stepping on my leg while I was calling 911. This is severe. Like I'm diagnosed with severe PTSD, and I'm working on it with a professional that I sourced myself from a counselor that I saw, not through any crisis response assistance.
Victims say they feel let down by the government because their care is being overseen by the province's insurance corporation, which typically provides coverage to British Columbians injured in car crashes.
1 year later, my body doesn't feel like it belongs to me. I'm still going to my clinic 4 times a week. I'm working really, really hard.
The province says it's supporting victims, including with income replacement, physiotherapy, and occupational health.
Over $5 million gone out to victims, nearly 100 case files open under victim services.
While victims are still struggling to heal, they came to remember those who are no longer here, trying to keep their memories alive forever. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, Vancouver.
For the first time in 2 decades, Palestinian voters are back at the polls in Gaza.
Today we have responsible elections with strong participation.
But with most of the region in ruins and major players missing, what does this election really mean?
I think that was the first time in my life that I'd ever felt empowered, and I just knew I never wanted to let that feeling go.
Just like this.
Canadian Olympian Camryn Rogers shares how a challenging upbringing shaped her path to the Olympic podium. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next. In Ukraine, ceremonies marked 40 years since the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. The explosion exposed more than 8 million people across Europe to radiation. 31 plant workers and firefighters died in the immediate aftermath. Thousands more have since succumbed to radiation-related illnesses. And with Russia's war in Ukraine ongoing, there are fears another nuclear incident could occur. Local elections were held in Gaza this weekend for the first time in 21 years, despite substantial limits on participation after years of wartime devastation. Tom Perry shows us why many still welcome the chance to have a say.
A sight not seen in Gaza for 2 decades. Palestinian voters casting ballots to elect their local representatives. The elections are important because we've been cut off for more than 20 years in Gaza and deprived of this democratic process, says Shafika Rabbah. Deir al-Balah in central Gaza was the only town able to hold a vote. The rest of the territory still too devastated by years of Israeli bombardment.
Today we have responsible elections with strong participation from the communities, from the people, from the voters.
Hamas was not on the ballot, though its security teams were visible at polling stations. In the West Bank, where Hamas's bitter rival Fatah holds power, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, in office for more than 20 years, cast his ballot. Abbas's Palestinian Authority is seen by many as corrupt and ineffective, though voters here are still hopeful. It's my duty as a citizen to elect good people who will give us our rights and work for this country, says Fadi Ahmed Otala. Not everyone is as enthusiastic about this vote. A lot of parties are sitting it out and boycotting.
These elections are not a substitute for the elections we never had since 20 years.
which are the Legislative Council elections and the presidential elections.
Opposition parties angry at a requirement they acknowledge the Fatah-dominated Palestinian Liberation Organization, which has recognized the State of Israel as the only legitimate representative of the Palestinian people, leaving the field open in much of the West Bank to Fatah-backed candidates. Still, this vote, for all its flaws, is being welcomed by international observers, including Canada, hoping that after 20 years of Fatah controlling the West Bank and Hamas running Gaza, a democratic future for Palestinians is still possible. Tom Perry, CBC News, Ramallah.
Now let's break down the news shaping our world. Gunshots at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The U.S. president ushered away, security pouring into the room, guns drawn. And witnessing it all, CBC News Washington correspondent Paul Hunter responding in the moment.
At first, I thought it was some sort of play act thing, it was a staged, macabre kind of joke. And then all the Secret Service ran, and all the cabinet ministers who were here got ushered out, hands on shoulders, marched out by the Secret Service. I looked up at the front table, Trump was long gone. And this room full of journalists and, politicians, people now standing around wondering what happened and what's going to happen next.
Okay, Paul Hunter's back with us, and let's get you to answer your own question there. What did happen next?
Yeah, well, I mean, for those of us in the room in lockdown, there was a lot of wondering, like, what on earth had actually happened out in the hallways. Early buzz was that the shooter had been killed, but that obviously turned out to be false. Then came word that the Correspondents' Dinner was going to resume, which made more than a few of us in the room look at each other and kind of say, are you kidding me? And then came word that Trump was back at the White House, that the dinner would be rescheduled some other time, and that Trump would be holding a briefing. The briefing, with everyone still in their fancy dresses and tuxedos, then came with an unusual version of Donald Trump, almost conciliatory with the press, thanking them for their coverage. I mean, keep in mind that for all the antagonistic comments Trump makes to the press, he speaks to reporters probably more than any other president ever. He sees attention as a usable positive. Look, he's nothing if not someone who understands the power of the moment and the power of publicity. Recall his raised fist after the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania, with the blood on his face and the kind of fight, fight, fight slogan. There's an argument that says he won the 2024 election with that image. And there's a part of this that feels like an echo of that. Trump targeted again, then making the point to the journalist to whom he was kind last night that this is the sort of thing that happens to presidents who try to do stuff, who try to do big things, seemingly trying to turn this to his political advantage. It was a telling moment, Ian, in context of what had just played out.
So before the shooting, before all of this happened, this was a night where the U.S. president was expected to butt heads with the press.
Yeah, I mean, that was the news everyone expected from the evening, that the president, who had boycotted his previous invites to the dinner, was going to rip into everybody. It was all the talk in the ballroom prior to things getting underway, prior to the shooting, of course. Trump even hinted at that briefing later on that that was indeed his plan, and then saying now he'll soften it up when the dinner is rescheduled.
So beyond the comments after the shooting, there's some sobering historical context here.
Yeah, tons of it. I mean, look, this happened at the Washington Hilton, the same place Ronald Reagan was shot in '81. And by the way, so too James Brady on that day, Reagan's press secretary. In fact, the official name of that blue briefing room where Trump spoke late last night is the James Brady briefing room because of that shooting. And consider that among the VIPs in the ballroom last night was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Health and Human Services Secretary, whose father was shot and killed at a hotel in California after a political rally in '68, and whose uncle, President John F. Kennedy, was shot and killed in Dallas in '63. And when I stood at my table last night, Ian, watching VIPs get escorted out, RFK Jr. among them, there went Steve Scalise, the Republican House Majority Leader, limping because he has a permanent limp after being shot at a congressional baseball game not far from here in 2017. I could go on and on and on. Gabby Giffords, remember her? Political violence in this country is beyond the pale and feels growing, enabled in many ways by a country that has more guns than people and stoked by ever more divisive politics. Let's not forget the rioting on Capitol Hill. January 6th, 2021. It's as if political violence is now normalized here. When I exited the hotel last night, Ian, after all was said and done, we all walked out the front doors into a wall of police cars and flashing lights. It was like a giant crime scene. We were directed down to the sidewalk, away from the fray, stepping right on the spot where Reagan was shot in '81. In no small way, it underlined everything.
A sobering way to end this, Paul. Paul Hunter in Washington, thank you. Coming up, Canada's world and Olympic champion Camryn Rogers gets deeply personal about her unlikely road to stardom.
We were sleeping in our car. We were couch surfing.
Her climb from humble beginnings to the world's best and how a mother's love anchored it all.
The history maker. The Olympic champion remains top of the world standings.
Canada's Camryn Rogers cementing her place among the greatest hammer throwers ever, winning her third consecutive global title at the 2025 World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. She became the first Canadian to successfully defend an individual World Athletics gold medal. But there's more to Rogers than accolades and fame. I spoke with a Richmond, BC native in her hometown about her difficult journey to the top, starting with some of the moments that shaped it.
You really never know what people are going through. And I think for my mom and I, we sort of just didn't really share too much about it. I think we were very focused on just trying to get through that time with each other and sort of get to the other side. But we were sleeping in our car.
When it comes to women's hammer throw, there's no disputing Camryn Rogers is the best in the world. An achievement perhaps even more remarkable when you consider what she and her mom endured. For the better part of a year, Camryn and Sherry Rogers lived out of Sherry's car, sometimes couch surfing with friends as Sherry worked to pay off her debts. It was around this time that Camryn was encouraged to try track and field, and the first person she met at tryouts was the school's throwing coach who put a hammer in her hands. That moment changed everything.
What a night for this shining star from Canada.
A decade later, she won her first world championship. Then in 2024, an Olympic gold medal throw in Paris.
She has won the Olympic gold medal, and it sinks in here at center stage.
It was the culmination of a decade of hard work and resilience, not just for Camryn, but for Sherry too.
Camryn Rogers!
Between topping the podium in Paris and winning another world championship last year in Tokyo,
A world champion twice in a row.
Camryn has been reflecting on that time of her life when she and her mom didn't have a home.
The journey that my mom and I took to get here is very surreal.
Now she's opening up about it, hoping her story might help someone who's struggling, and to give back to More Than a Roof, the organization that finally helped bring stability to her life, providing a place for Camryn and her mom to live.
I want you to think back to that time when you and your mom were unhoused, and is there anything that comes to mind, like a particular challenge, a moment that still sticks with you?
Ooh, so much of that sort of year, just under a year that we were unhoused, it was just trying to just go day to day. But I do remember, and there's, this one moment that my mom and I still talk about to this day where we were sleeping in our car that night and I think we were driving to get gas. And I think my mom was able to put about it must have been maybe $5 of gas into the tank. And it was just enough for us to kind of get back to where we needed to be just to stay for the night. And I think looking back on times like that, it's very, it feels unbelievable. Like it almost feels like it didn't happen, because how could it happen? But you just do what needs to be done. And I think so much of that goes back to my mom and the strength and the resilience that she had to show in protecting me and making sure that the both of us were okay and could go to school the next day, go to work the next day, and just sort of be okay as you could be. And I think that's really what stands out to me looking back at that time.
For people who are watching, you know, if they hear the term unhoused, they have an image in their head, right? What do you think the lesson is of the story of you and your mom?
I think it's, you really never know what people are going through. And I think for my mom and I, we sort of just didn't really share too much about it. I think we were very focused on just trying to get through that time with each other and sort of get to the other side. But we were sleeping in our car. We were couch surfing. I think there were so many people who positively impacted my mom and I during that time and who wouldn't even know it and who may not even know it to this day. But they made a world of difference in some of our darkest times, just showing those little bits of kindness. And so I think for so many people, that's the most important thing, is just always being kind.
And then you and your mom move in here to the unit right over there, 27,
Yes,
that you and your
27.
mom lived.
Yes.
For 9 years, almost 10 years.
For almost 10 years.
Yeah. And looking around here, this might actually surprise some people. This is a place that unhoused people can end up coming to.
Yeah.
It looks like a community.
And it is a community. I think that to have a home is both to have a roof over your head, but then of course it is the people that make up that community that really make that place what it is, to make it feel homey, to make it feel inviting and a place where you feel safe. And I think that for my mom and I, after going through that year and to finally be in a place that allowed us to feel like we could sort of drop our shoulders, where we could walk in the door and know we had a place of our own, and to also then be able to walk out that door and be greeted by so many people who come from so many different backgrounds and have all of these different journeys and struggles of their own, and yet we all ended up here and we are all trying our best to move forward and to not take this opportunity for granted. I remember when we toured this place, actually, we toured Dockside, and at the time we were like, oh my gosh, like imagine if we could get in here, like this would be a dream come true. And then we were told that our application had been accepted, and it was kind of like the world opened up for my mom and I again. And it was like we could allow ourselves to have dreams and to have these big goals for ourselves once again, just because now we had somewhere to go home to at the end of the night and just be able to sort of sit on the couch and just take a deep breath and know that we were safe and we were okay. And then once you can sort of let yourself take in these moments again, you realize how much you really have gone through.
I want to throw a date out to you because I think
Okay.
this is a pivotal date. I hope I have this right. You tell me, January 5th, 2012.
That's it. You got it. You nailed that. January 5th, 2012. That was the day I started throwing. That's my first day of sport ever. I'd never done a sport before, and that's the day that changed
But you were
everything.
just a little kid.
was.
And what happened that day that was so important for you?
So on that day, I made a very last-minute decision to go out to the local track and field club here in Richmond, KJAX Track and Field, and I went to the track, and the very first person I met was my first throws coach, Richard Collier, and he brought me over to the cage, and that was, I think, the moment that changed everything. It was sort of a moment that it felt like it was written in the stars, kind of.
Wow.
In a way, but I met him, I ended up meeting my future teammates, and he even had me take a throw that day. It was not good. It was not a good throw. It went about 2 meters, maybe, again, exaggeration, but
I think he saw something in you even at that point, right?
I think so. I hope so. Because he sort of looked at me, looked at the throw, saw where I landed, and said, I think we can work with that.
Wow.
And I think in that moment, too, being 12, being so young, you're figuring things out a little bit, but I think that was the first time in my life that I'd ever felt empowered, and I just knew I never wanted to let that feeling go. I wanted to feel that powerful every single day for the rest of my life.
Camryn Rogers of Canada. What an effort from her.
She's a world under-20 champion.
Here for Canada, Camryn Rogers, 20-year-old from British Columbia.
And at this stage of the competition, she's leading.
Camryn Rogers now winding, whipping, top speed, lets it fly. Look at the arc! Oh, it's a massive throw. The gold medal will be won at these Olympic Games by Camryn Rogers. First time a Canadian woman has won Olympic gold in the hammer throw. History in the making.
So you have achieved the highest level on the biggest stage in your sport. Has the gold medal changed anything in your life?
I think it's shown me more what I'm capable of, and I think that in terms of everything else, I think it just means that more people know about the sport too. I think being able to win gold, I think has shown more people what hammer throw is, has made people more passionate, want to support it, want to also do it, which is kind of cool.
Are we ready to do some fun little jab throws? Yeah!
I think one of the most rewarding parts of being in this sport at this time is that I received so many messages from young girls, but also from a lot of moms too, who are telling me like, hey, we watched you throw, we saw you on TV, we just think it's so cool what you're doing. My daughter wants to try throwing. My daughter just reached out to the local track club. She's gonna start hammer throw like this week. My daughter, just wants to start sport, period. And I think that is the best thing I think that could happen. Hopefully they can also have that same experience for themselves and find that same love for it that I did.
You're next. Just like this. Woo! You guys are super strong. Longer. Oh my God.
Let's talk a little bit about your mom. You guys are close.
Yes, very close. She's my everything. I mean, she's my rock. She's my confidant. She's the woman who birthed me, raised me, and protected me through so many of the ups and downs in life. And I just can't imagine anyone being stronger and more resilient and more fierce, I think, in their approach to life and to love as well.
And she is the person who you literally ran to celebrate and share your gold medal win.
Yes, straight to her, just beeline sprinting. And I think those moments are the ones you look back on and can make you a little teary-eyed. I mean, that moment of, well, the multiple moments of winning gold, which is crazy to say, but
it's true.
But it's true, and just always being able to look out in the crowd and pinpoint and go, okay, there she is, and then run straight to her and just have those moments. She always cries. I always get very close to crying as well, and it's just sharing in that really amazing moment together and knowing that so much has led to that happening, so much had to go right, and even with all the things that did go wrong or not according to plan, we were still able to find ourselves here in this moment of success. And I think just being able to celebrate that with the woman who made so much of it happen is just really, really sweet.
I think she's making a lot of hammer throw fans in Canada so easy to root for Camryn Rogers, and looking forward to this year's World Championship. That is Kenya's Sebastian Sawe storming to a new world record at the London Marathon on Sunday. He won in just 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 30 seconds, shattering the old mark by over a minute, becoming the first ever to cover the 42.1 kilometer course in under 2 hours. Coming up, hundreds of Habs fans pack a church for a playoff watch party.
They know that they're going to live something special with the Canadians.
We'll take you to the Montreal celebrations next in our moment. So a lot of hockey fans watch their favorite team religiously, but near Montreal, this Cathedral took it up a notch, hosting watch parties during these Stanley Cup playoffs. Since the start of the series, hundreds of Hab fans have packed the pews to cheer for victory. That unexpected watch hub makes our moment tonight.
at the Saint-Jean-l'Évangéliste Cathedral, which is still a consecrated cathedral. We have a giant screen where people can see the Canadian playoff games. We have 16 video projectors. We have like a lighting show on the ceiling. It's a complete experience. Whoever has lived a playoff game, you know that it gets, pretty crazy. Go Habs go and the ole ole. Go so loud when there's a goal. The organ was trying to do the little ta-na-na-na-ta-na, but the crowd is louder. I guess is an unusual thing in the cathedral. Usually our Catholic celebrations are on the quiet side. People come in already with this respectful mindset. They know that they're gonna live something special with the Canadians and throw their best beliefs and their best prayers towards the boys so they can bring back the cup to Montreal.
Even a cathedral filled with fervent fans wasn't enough tonight. The Habs were leading 2-0. They ended up losing 3-2 to Tampa. But hey, the series is tied. It's down to the last 2, maybe 3 games. There's still a chance. I'm Ian Hannamansing in Vancouver. I hope you can join me weekdays on News Network live at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Good night.